Hi everyone, Gabby here, and for this Magical Girl May video, we will be discussing my top Magical Girl anime recommendations. Now, this is in no way my ultimate list of my top favorites because that would be very difficult for me to ever create and choose a favorite child. I can't do it. But I thought I would make a list of the Magical Girl anime that I think a wide variety of people would be interested in. I picked a bunch of different ones that I think could suit a bunch of different tastes, is basically what this list is for. So if you are interested in hearing what I would recommend, which I'm honored that you would think I have a good recommendation or think I have any amount of good taste, make sure you stick around, but also leave a like and subscribe because it is my birth month. My birthday's at the end of the month, so think of it as a present from you to me that costs nothing. Before we get into my list, because I know someone in the comments is going to be like, well, Gabby, that doesn't count as a Magical Girl anime. Gabby, that doesn't count, blah, 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 blah. Gabby, that's not a Magical Girl anime. We're going to start with the definition of Magical Girl anime because I don't feel like fighting people in the comments. According to my favorite source, Wikipedia, Magical Girl, or Mahou Shoujo, is a subgenre of Japanese fantasy media centered around young girls who possess magical abilities which they typically use through an ideal alter ego into which they transform. So basically, it is a genre of fantasy with a transformation. That's all you need, according to Wikipedia, and if you want to fight me, go change the Wikipedia definition. Okay, good. All right, let's go. So the first series that I'm going to be recommending to you is the anime Kill la Kill. So Kill la Kill is made by Studio Trigger, and if you know anything about Studio Trigger, we never get season 2s for anything in Studio Trigger, so just be forewarned, basically. I'm gonna read the Wikipedia description for you all of the plot. The series follows schoolgirl Ryuko Matoi on the search for her father's killer, which brings her into violent conflict with Satsuki Kiryuin, an iron-willed student council president of Honnoji Academy, and her mother, Rago Kiryuin's fashion empire. Ryuko and Satsuki and others attain martial arts superpowers from their clothes, which they appear to have a will of their own. So basically, we're watching school kids fight. It's really a fun series. I love the animation. Studio Trigger just has such a way with colors that I just think it is such a visually really interesting show to watch. And yes, it's a magical girl show. They transform and they use their clothes to transform. That's the transformation item. Don't you get it? They all go together. This is the transformation item. It makes sense. But I would say this series is especially good magical girl series wise if you like more of an action or a comedy type series. If you don't want something that's very frilly and very girly, I would say Kill la Kill is a really good option because it has a lot of those combat fighting elements along with kind of like a dark hidden plot. I don't want to reveal anything because it's such a good show, but oh my god, so in my mind, because they transform using their magical clothes, yes, this is a magical girl anime, okay? Yes, and they get powers. It's a magical girl anime. It has fantasy elements. It has 24 episodes, and I think that's a pretty reasonable length. I don't like really long series. As you will probably notice from the rest of this list, I don't like long anime typically, but I think this one is a pretty good length for the story itself. I'm not spoiling the ending, but I think the ending is a really good, very satisfying ending in my opinion, which doesn't happen with Studio Trigger very often, so I will take it. I will take this win. And then I don't know for all these series, if I can find where you can watch them, I will link them legally, watch them. I will link them. Most things are streamed on Funimation or Crunchyroll or I think what's the other one? Verve? I don't know. But if they're on any of those, I will link them down below for all of these series. But yeah, this is just one of my personal favorites. I've watched both the dub and the sub, and I have enjoyed both, which is very uncommon for me. I don't usually like most dubs, but I would say this one is honestly one of my favorite dubs. It's just, it fits the characters and the grit of it so well. I'd say if you're looking for a more like gritty and less like very like girly Sailor Moon-esque magical girl show, then I think Kill la Kill is a really good option to start. The next one, which this series has such a personal spot in my heart because I've rewatched it so many times. And if that doesn't tell you that something is good, I don't know what it is, because I also, not only am I bad at watching things, especially if they're long, I will very rarely rewatch anything unless it has like that like, I don't know, you know, like some things don't have good rewatchability, okay? Some things just are good, you see them once. But this series, I think, can be rewatched a million times because it is just so good. And that is Princess Tutu. I have watched the dub and the sub of this. I recommend both, honestly. Like, truly recommend both. But in case you've never heard of Princess Tutu, here is a brief little summary according to Wikipedia. Princess Tutu is a Japanese magical girl series inspired by ballet and fairy tales, particularly The Ugly Duckling and Swan Lake. The story follows a duck who transforms into a mythical ballerina, Princess Tutu, in order to save the shattered heart of a storybook prince come to life. So yes, Princess Tutu involves so many fairy tales and also a ton of like ballet specific stories. There's a ton of references, so if you're very much into fairy tale themed things, or especially if you're into dance and you like a good ballet, so many stories are referenced, so many characters you meet are references to other characters, and I think that's just really fun. I love when you like see like something else as a reference to, I just like that kind of stuff. It's very pretty. It is such a beautiful anime. Who makes it? Which studio made this? Okay, I've never heard of the studio that made it, but it is just one of the most beautiful animations I have ever seen. It withstands the test of time, if you ask me. I think the art is just so pretty. And not gonna lie, if you're one of those people that you see something pretty and that makes you watch it, watch Princess Tutu, because it is so pretty, the entire story. But I would say this series, why I recommend it and why I like it so much, I've rewatched it so many times and it just continually stays really good. It continually stays in like some of my top recommended anime for people to watch. I think that the story is just very interesting. I think if you like those sort of like fairy tale inspired stories, or you like something where you can kind of like pick up references to other things and piece things together, it very much has like a bunch of little kind of mysteries going on all at once that you have to kind of piece together throughout the story. It's very interesting. I like a lot also, how do I explain, like, how do you explain Princess Tutu? It's such, like, there is kind of like some like fourth wall, kind of like trippy elements almost. I don't know how to describe it. It's very fascinating to like, cause you have your story that you're watching happen, but then you kind of learn that there's something else kind of controlling it, and that's fascinating. I love a little like, I would basically say, and like I'm gonna talk about this other series later on the list, but like if you liked Madoka, and you like the themes of Madoka, but you don't want something as sad as Madoka, watch Princess Tutu, because there are so many concepts of dealing with like fate and your destiny and the path of being a magical girl basically, except in dance form. It's a little, some people will argue that it is just a dance, like fairy tale anime, but I think it has magical girl elements. She uses a necklace to transform. She has an alter ego. It's a magical girl anime, and I think it is one of the best. So this next series I have to recommend, because if you have any sort of emotional childhood nostalgia for magical girl anime and you haven't seen this one, I think you're missing out, and that is Tokyo Mew Mew. We will start with a summary before I immediately start gushing about my feelings. It focuses on 5 girls infused with the DNA of endangered animals, which gives them special powers and allows them to transform into Mew Mews. Led by Ichigo Momomiya, the girls protect the Earth from aliens who wish to reclaim it. So yes, we are fighting aliens with furries. It's a nice little summary for you. But Tokyo Mew Mew, as we have discussed on this channel, is getting a reboot, but I do think the original is worth a watch, especially if you liked the original Sailor Moon or any of the other 90s and pre-90s magical girl anime and never watched Tokyo Mew Mew. I did watch Mew Mew Power as a kid on 4Kids, and God, oh my we can't talk about that dub. That is trash. Unless you have an intense nostalgia. I do have nostalgia for it, but it is so bad. I rewatched it recently actually because I showed it to one of my friends and my friend was like, hey, I just watched all of it because it's that good. And I was like, yes, it is. So yes, I would super recommend Tokyo Mew Mew, especially if you have that nostalgia towards like the older anime styles and you don't get bothered by watching things that are older. Some people I know do, and that's watch the reboot then. The reboot is supposed to come out, what, this July? It's July, right? It comes out in July. Someone confirm that in the comments for me, please. But I just think this show has so many elements of what makes the magical girl genre so good. We have cute designs, transformation items. You're following the adventures of multiple magical girls, and they're all dealing with their own crap. Like, yeah, it's anime middle school, high school crap, but they all go through a really intense journey in their own way, and I find that very compelling. I like when each character gets development. Very important to me in a multi-character series that each character gets something. And if you only watched Mew Mew Power and never watched Tokyo Mew Mew, which is basically, you know, like the entire series and not just watching them fight a moth, go watch the rest of it, because I remember when I watched it initially, I was like, this doesn't feel like the ending. And the ending is good in my opinion. I'm very excited for the reboot, but I do think that the classic style, and if you have an attachment to the classic styles, then I think you would really like Tokyo Mew Mew. So I already mentioned it earlier, so I feel like we have to talk about it. Obviously, if you're like looking to get into magical girls, I think one of the best series that you could watch, if you're not sure you're gonna like the genre, is Madoka Magica. And if you've never heard of it, which I don't know how, I feel like every anime person has heard of Madoka Magica, but the story follows a group of middle school girls led by protagonist Madoka Kaname, who make supernatural contracts to become magical girls. In battling surreal enemies known as witches, they learn the anguish and peril associated with their new roles. What I think is so compelling about Madoka is, again, getting to see almost like the realistic side of being a magical girl, or almost like, you know, in like superhero movies that are like, oh, like they just talk about the troubles of their new responsibilities, or like actually keeping their identity and keeping the people they care about safe. Madoka very much kind of handles that in a more magical girl lens, if you will. You're dealing with the repercussions of their actions and their choices to go into this path. And it is darker than most other magical girl series, in my opinion. I think that's kind of what Madoka is known for. And I just think it also withstands how visually stunning it is. All the surreal elements of Madoka are so beautiful. And I think what the series is like 10 years old now, it's over 10 years old now. I still would argue that it holds up visually with the other series that are more recently coming out. I think it just is so beautiful. I love a psychological anime. And so if you like those kind of like elements that make you think, then I think Madoka is a really good show, especially if you've never seen it. If you've never seen Madoka, you just need to watch it anyway because it's 13 episodes. It's just worth it. I will say I haven't seen the movie or the magicka I record yet. I know I keep mentioning that I'm gonna watch them. I just have had no time to watch them, but I will watch them, and they probably would be recommended as well. But I technically have seen part of the movie, but not the whole movie, okay? Now, I can't go into this list truthfully without recommending at least one season of Precure. And it is quite hard to recommend a season of Precure because I feel like, one, it kind of has like the childhood nostalgia element that if you didn't really grow up watching it, it's kind of hard to get into. And two, because each season is both so different and so similar, it's kind of hard to kind of find your niche within the Precure universe, if you will. I would say I have two recommendations for if you've never seen Precure, or if you want to kind of get into that more nostalgic for children magical girl anime, which, first of all, if anyone wants to make this argument with me, Precure deals with legitimate themes of mental health and depression, gender, life and death, dealing with the consequences of your actions in serious life and death situations. Precure has elements that are not just for children, okay? We're good? We're good. Thank you. Okay, I've made my peace. So the first Precure season that I'm going to be recommending to you all is Hugto Precure, which is the 15th anniversary season of Precure. I don't really have a good way of summarizing this season, or really Precure in general. It's very hard to summarize what a season of Precure is about. But I would say Hugto Precure deals with the concepts of self-image, discovering what you want to do in your life, having the confidence and motivation to pursue new things, and all those themes I feel like are very much in idol anime as well. So let me just give you a little brief summary. We start with our main character, Hana, who aspires to be seen as cool and mature, but in the midst of trying to reinvent herself in a new town and making new friends, she encounters a strange baby and a hamster that fall from the sky, from the future, and they're here to help her fight an evil corporation from destroying the future. And so this desire to help others allows her to become a Precure, and along with two of our other main characters, Saya and Homare, they become the Hugto Precure team. The goal of this season is to basically protect everyone's futures, because everyone has these desires of what they wish to do and how they wish to accomplish things, and the Precure of this season are there to protect the future. So the reason I recommend it is kind of like I said, it follows the similar desires of wanting to succeed in your dreams and wanting to pursue things and having the motivation to do so, similarly to a lot of idol anime where you kind of have a desire. A lot of characters will be like, oh, I want to be an idol, and then they kind of face the trials and tribulations associated with that. That is very much what Hugto Precure focuses on, except instead of it being, oh, I want to be an idol, which there is an idol plot. There are idol characters. If you like idols, we do got that. And then the other reason why I would recommend Hugto specifically is if you love very much friendship-driven anime. The characters that you follow in Hugto, you really can tell are best friends, and the show fully shows you that they continue to be best friends throughout the rest of their lives, and I think that is just so important. I love a friend anime. It's just, I don't want to say too much because I don't wish to spoil the ending, but I would say the ending of Hugto Precure alone makes it one of the best Precure seasons. And I know that might sound weird, because you're like, Gabby, why can't you talk about the ending? It's just like the most wholesome anime ending that I will give you on this whole list, probably. It's the most wholesome ending. If you like a wholesome beginning to end that talks about, again, your future, deciding what you want to do, being okay not knowing what you want to do, but having the motivation to try things, and also dealing with family trauma, gender, etc. It is such a good freaking season, and I know I'm probably blabbering and I'm gonna have to edit this to make it sound coherent, but I just think if you've never seen a Precure season, I think Hugto is one of the best ones to start with, because I think it summarizes the series very well. Now, the other one I will recommend though, even though I technically have not finished it, but I just think the comedy elements of it alone make it a really appealing season to watch. I think Tropical Rouge Precure is also like in my what I would recommend to people. And basically we are following the story in that of Manatsu, who is coming from her small island hometown to the big city and just feels so confident and inspired by her love of makeup to try new things, and that the constant motivation allows her to want to explore new things and meet new people and this, that, and whatever. But then she meets a mermaid named Laura and becomes a Precure. That is not a great summary of Tropical Rouge, but I also haven't finished Tropical Rouge, so I don't need anyone telling me anything. And it has been the Precure season that I've gotten my non-Precure friends to watch, and they've all enjoyed it because it is so funny. Like, if you ignore the fact that it's a magical girl anime, it is just funny. They took so many animation risks. I think it is just such a bright and colorful series. Like, it's visually very stunning, and like, it just makes you laugh. If you need a nice, mindless laugh, I would say like Hugto is like, if you can deal with like the drama of some stuff happening, Hugto is good if you want to deal with drama. If you want to deal with just a funny magical girl anime, then Tropical Rouge. But those are the two Precure seasons I basically would recommend. And then the last series for this list that I have to talk about, because again, it is also one of my favorites, is the series Review Starlight. Now, it is a 12-episode anime, and I will try desperately to summarize. So in Review Starlight, they are all basically competing for the role of top star. They are stage girls competing in hand-to-hand combat while also performing musical numbers for a strange giraffe. How do I explain this in a way that makes sense? Because Review Starlight's kind of trippy. Like, if you like Madoka Magicka, Review Starlight is like trippy musical magical girls. There, like that made sense, right? I don't know. But our main characters that you kind of focus on are Karen and Hikari, and their childhood friends, and their goal has been to perform this one particular play together. And so in order to do that, Karen needs to become the top star and goes through battling the rest of her classmates in order to become the top star. I've cosplayed from this series. My favorite character is Claudine, if you did not know. But all of the characters have different reasons for why they want to be the top star. They're each battling their own self-confidence in their performance abilities and kind of their relationships and being okay, being better than each other, and childhood friendships are tested. It is so good. All the voice actresses in it are insanely talented and are also in a lot of other things. There are also musicals that go with Review Starlight, and I don't know if there's any real way to watch them translated, but I have watched the anime, and I think the anime is beautiful. Both like musically and visually, some of the most beautiful things to watch and listen to. And I think one of the other things that I really do like about Review Starlight especially is how each character kind of has like their own genre with their songs and kind of the types of performances they do. And I like that it explores multiple genres of music within the like musical theater type of series that it is. It has all the elements of being like a magical girl show while also having a lot of very idol-y elements. So that's why I'd say if you kind of like more like idol anime, then I think Review Starlight is a good bridge, if you will. I would say that is my list. I don't even know how many I technically put on this list, but I'd say that is my list of magical girl anime for people that don't like magical girl anime or don't think they like it yet, but will like it once they watch these. I'm really selling myself here. But yeah, I want to thank you all so much for watching this video. If you liked it, give it a thumbs up. And if you are new here, yes, you, make sure you hit the subscribe button. It's right there. Woo! And in the comments, let me know what magical girl anime you would recommend to people. I could continue this list, honestly, for a very long time. There's a lot of series that I debated putting on this list, but I didn't want to make a literal dissertation about magical girl anime because I didn't know if anyone else would want that but me. But please let me know what else you would recommend in the comments and we can discuss. Especially if you agree with any of the ones on my list as like good recommendations for other people. I think it'll help bring more light to the genre, if you will. Follow me over on Instagram and Twitter to watch me talk about magical girl anime obsessively, most likely, because I've been watching a lot right now. And also to see cosplays. I have a few new magical girl cosplays that I will be showing off over on my Instagram especially, so go follow me over there. It's linked in the description. Yeah, thank you all so much for watching, and I'll see you in my next video. Bye! I'm so sleepy. I didn't finish my coffee before recording this, and it's very evident.